Hello and welcome to the Flourishing Introvert Talks with me, Jo Rawbone. This is the podcast that celebrates the natural gifts of introverts so that we can flourish in all situations. Episode 195, Flourishing Personified, with my guest this week, Sharon Thomas. When I met Sharon a few months ago, it seemed like we were reconnecting rather than meeting for the first time. A fellow midlifer, an introvert with sass and mischief running right through her, I knew that we would be friends. Let me tell you a little bit about Sharon. She helps midlife women find a new career path, giving them a new sense of direction and clarity. She recognises that midlife is a time of great change, and for many reasons. And she also knows from experience that this time in our lives can be exciting and liberating. Hooray to that. Over many years and through her own varied experiences, Sharon helps new business owners to keep it simple while creating steady momentum towards lasting success through focusing on strengths, something you know we're passionate about here at Flourishing Introverts, and also focusing on needs and ambitions. As she says, after all, one size does not fit all. So I've already given you a bit of a heads up to the amazing Sharon Thomas, who I'm so pleased that I met just earlier this summer. So welcome, Sharon. Welcome to the Flourishing Introvert Talks. But tell us a little about you in your own words, please.
Oh, thank you for having me. I'm really excited to be here. It's brilliant. It's absolutely brilliant. And yes, getting to meet you and see you in person was just brilliant. And I just wish we didn't live so far away from each other, because that's a big shame. So a little bit more about me. Well, I am a lady that is probably starting to call myself a reluctant retiree. I'm of an age where I possibly should be, whoever says it should be, thinking about retirement. And I do think about it quite a lot, but the thought of giving up work and doing nothing fills me with horror. I'm nowhere near ready to sit in my park and old chair and rock backwards and forwards. I'm just not ready for that. So what I decided I would do was I wanted to be able to help people who've perhaps having things happen to them a bit like I've had happen to me in my life, in my journey. And it hasn't always been a bed of roses. That's a whole other story, really. And I've had lots of businesses and lots of different things that have happened in business that now I know I can help other people make that decision as they enter their midlife. And it's a different life now. It's not the life that's probably around the children or the baby booming and the childcare and all of that lot. It's now about you. It's about you, what you do, what you choose to do, how many hours a week do you want to work? How much money do you need to earn? You know, life's different as you get older, and it's helping people work that out and then helping them get off on that journey.
I love that. And for me, one of the things that I kind of reflect on is the fact that, thank you for calling the years I'm in midlife, because it means I've still got plenty to go ahead of me. But also kind of midlife now, and because I'm beyond retirement age as well, but again, with no desire to fully retire at all. But I remember my mum at my age, and she was an old lady. And I wonder if my kind of stepchildren and nieces are looking at me thinking, yeah, you're an old lady too, Jo. You just don't see it yet. I don't know whether that's the case. But I love the fact that we seem to have so many more options open to us now that maybe our parents didn't have.
No, they didn't have it. And you're right. I can still see, you know, I mean, I lost both my parents in their mid-60s within 18 months of each other. And that was a massive, massive light on moment, really, is to think, you know, is actually they weren't very old. And my main aim in life is to stay around and annoy people for as long as it's humanly possible. But I think that we have to pay heed to the fact that from your early 50s into your mid 60s, yes, you still have a lot to offer, but you have to accept age is not just a number, and you have to respect it, and you have to make allowances for it. That does not mean that you sit at home waiting for the knock on the door. It means that you have to realign your life to be still fulfilled, still get pleasure, and still find that and know that you have got a worth. You really, really have. And ageism, unfortunately, is rife.
Gosh, isn't it just? Isn't it just?
Yeah.
And there's something else you just said there about, you still have value, you still have worth. Just today, I was messaging someone and we were trying to figure out a time to talk. And I just said, I'm busy between here and here, and then I'm free afterwards. And the response that came back from the other person was, you're not free. You're too valuable for that. You're available after a certain time. And almost, there were almost light bulbs going off for me in that moment in terms of the language we use sometimes and the message that sends to our subconscious. So I am no longer free, because I never was actually, but I can let people know when I'm available. And I just love that reminder that actually I still have value. I still have worth.
And I think that's the other thing, isn't it? And a lot of my friends, and I don't know whether you've had the same kind of thing, I think sometimes when you get to a certain age, your confidence begins to sink, because it's all about young people and their jobs and their business and their families. And as you get older, that what seems to happen is that it's all about the young people. And yes, it is. Young people are the lifeblood of what it is that we're doing, the world. They are the lifeblood of it. But you still have importance. You still have something to offer. And it's remembering that. It's remembering that kind of thing. I mean, we've just come back from holiday, and all I could see on the bloody beach were young girls with skinny bikinis on and looking stunning, and it really made me depressed. Till in the end, I said, I'm coming off the beach because I don't like it anymore. So it's like your confidence goes as you get older. Mine certainly did. It's come back a lot now, and the clients that I help, their confidence is going as well, and they feel the noise of the world around them, and they want to work, but they don't want to work in that noise. And it's working out how they can find some gainful employment or running of a business that fits with their lifestyle, because your ambitions aren't quite the same when you're 55 as they were when you were 35. And that's the nature of the world, I think.
And that's why it's so valuable to hear from you, who's had decades of business experience running your own businesses. And now, because you're working with that kind of midlife age group, and you talk about the fact that the decades of experience you've had have helped you to build this kind of formula that works. So obviously you're not going to tell us everything because that's state secrets, but tell us a little bit about this formula that you've developed that really does help people like me in midlife, other people who are lacking confidence and are feeling that kind of dip in midlife. Tell us how you help them, if you would, Sharon.
I love it because I'm proud of it, really. So I'm happy to talk about it. It's absolutely fine. I call it the M system. And there's so many M's around that you look at each day. So I talk about mindset. So a lot of where I've come from has been built on my mindset and acceptance. So your mindset has to change. You have to look at things in a different way, So it's working out your mindset to try and work out what it is that you think you can do and how it fits in with the new you, the life that you now have, which is amazing. So we talk a lot about the mindset, work on that. Mindset's huge, but you may need parts of your mindset working on that somebody else doesn't. It might be that you need money mindset. It might be that you need tech mindset. It might be that you need life general mindset. We do a questionnaire. We go deep into how people think what they're like to help us work that out. So my course, when I set people off, is based on helping them decide what kind of business they might run, because you may be one of the fortunate people that knows exactly what you want to do, but then there's another person who doesn't. So then what we have to do is work out what kind of a model. So where are your skills? What kind of a skill set have you got? What is it that floats your boat? There's no use in me, for instance, being an admin person, because I'm not an admin person. That would make me feel vile and cold, horrible.
Yeah.
But you might be a really good admin person. Your skills in your past career may mean that actually you're really good at admin. So you could set yourself up as a simple VA, helping people easily get themselves set up in business. So we have to find out what model would suit you, because what suits you doesn't suit anybody else.
Agreed.
Next thing that's really, really important is marketing yourself.
Yeah.
And people, listen, I come from an era where people would sit in the pub and they'd come up with a plan on the back of a beer mat and it would work. That doesn't work anymore. And so therefore you have to work out, how are you going to market yourself? And that's another massive subject. So what kind of branding? And I don't believe in paying branding agencies at this level large amounts of money to come up with some colours and designs. We can do it very simply and very easily, and it still can look very professional. It's how you market yourself. It's what the story is that you tell people about what it is that you're doing and what you're offering. A little kind of short tale, if we've got the time, is that there's a girl that I know who's designed a tanning product, and she's designed the packaging, she's done she's been and found the people to make product for her and everything, and she worked really, really hard on it, and it's all in her salon. And I said, how's it going? Oh, it's not going very well. So I said, why? What's the matter? It doesn't sell. Why is it not selling? Oh, I don't know, it's not selling. I said, have you been out and spoken to other salons? Have you been and promoted it heavily on Insta? Oh, I don't want to put myself out there. Oh, no. Well, that's why it doesn't work. It's because you don't get out there and promote it. So we worked together a little bit, and now she's off and she's selling product. So marketing is really, really important. So there's mindset, because I have to remember what I've done, because I'm trying to forget. I forget things. Mindset, marketing, and the method and the model. And then after that, there's one that's a really big one, is your motivation. So where are you getting your motivation from? What motivates you? What is it? That to me is quite different from mindset. What is it that you want? What do you need? How many hours a week do you want to work? How much money do you want? Are you supplementing your pension, or are you wanting still to earn £100,000 a year? Or are you happy to earn £20,000 a year? It's very, very personal. And that, very, very briefly, there's a lot more involved in it, but those are the basics of the M system.
I love that. And as you were talking about the marketing and linking back to something we just talked about how those, especially women in midlife, I don't think it happens quite so much to men in midlife, but women in midlife, when they start to see the kind of, the gorgeous young things around them. And for instance, I get up in the morning and notice how something sagged a little bit lower now overnight somehow.
Yes.
And I think it's even harder to market yourself or I found it, let me speak from personal experience, I found it harder to market myself as an older woman, as an introverted older woman, in the days of social media, which I've had to learn and kind of come up to speed with. And I'm not a big fan of social media, and yet we have to utilize it because that's where the world seems to be. And so I think if we go back to the kind of model piece as well, because we have to use social media, which bit of social media are you happy to use? Because we don't need to be on every particular, on every platform to market ourselves. But I think it is about choosing the right one that we can feel comfortable with. And so there's something for me about all of this, which is about remembering I'm in control of it, because both you and I have seen over our years people who will, somehow say that we must have a 6 or a 7-figure business when, as you say, maybe I just want to supplement my pension. Maybe I just want to keep myself busy in my dotage. I don't necessarily want to now become a millionaire. So I love those 4 M's, and I can see how each of them is important in their own ways. So yeah, nice model.
I think just picking up on what you were saying about social media and about the image that it portrays. If you're, I don't know, if you're overweight or you're underweight, or you're not the classic good-looking person, or you're aged, you begin to feel uncomfortable showing your face, and that's, though your face is your face, it's the story that you tell. And you've got a gorgeous smile. I can see it now, and it's that makes people, I think, pick up on the warmth of you. And yeah, okay, we may not be tech savvy, we may not be that, but I don't really care. I know people who can help other people do that. But it's that understanding of how it feels. How can a 31-year-old person understand how a 51-year-old or 61-year-old person feels? They can't. It's just completely impossible, really. So, and you're right about it's keeping busy, but it's also not feeling that pressure of being this 6-figure queen.
Absolutely right. And so to nail that motivation piece, to understand what's going to get me out of bed in the morning to do this, whatever I agree to do, rather than kind of roll over and go, oh, don't feel like it today. And you and I talked before we started recording about just how excited I've been about a kind of a transition, not a transition necessarily, but a step forward, a leap forward in a way that I've made in my business. And what a difference it makes when actually we genuinely feel that excitement towards what we're offering in the world. And if you're helping,
and why shouldn't you?
Absolutely.
Why shouldn't you? Why shouldn't you? You more than well, you've earned the right to still have that excitement, without a doubt.
Absolutely. We know that you identify as an introvert, and Sharon's one of those people who kind of took the quiz and said, not sure I believe the results, and neither do I, dear listener, because Sharon, the way she responded to the questionnaire, came out as a classic introvert. And having spent time face to face with Sharon and spent time virtually with her, I would be very surprised if actually you're a classic introvert, because I know you to be someone who is engaging. I know you to be someone who is sociable, and yet when your battery's flat, you retreat, like we all do as introverts. So I also want to make it okay for people listening to say, if they've taken the questionnaire and it's like doesn't quite sit comfortably, think about what state you were in when you took the questionnaire, because maybe you were at overwhelm or even into introvert burnout, and taking it again might give you a truer result. But more than that, do you know, it doesn't really matter what your type is, because what Sharon does beautifully is own her introversion. And when I'm talking about people owning their introversion, it's about playing to your strengths. And I know that's something that you help your clients do. So tell us a little bit more as well about how you help your clients play to their strengths, if you would.
I do that by picking and finding out and digging. So my past experiences, one of them is I used to be a florist, and I was a really, I was a good florist, and I used to do a lot of events, and I had a lot of brides and a lot of brides' mothers. Wow. And I never had one bad complaint ever. And the reason for that is because I took the time when I spent with the bride and her mother to get into and understand exactly what it is that made that person tick, what it was that they wanted, what their day would look like. And in the business that we run now, which is a fairly large cleaning agency, domestic and commercial, I see every single new client, and I do the same thing. I go and see them all, whether it's an old lady of 90 something or a young couple with a baby. I get into their heads, I suss out what it is that they want, and then I transmit that to the crew. The same thing applies with this. When I'm talking to a new one-to-one client, I need to know what makes them tick. What is it that's bothering them? What's causing them an issue? Why have they not got anywhere? And until you find that out, you can't possibly help them. So I'm not one of these people who deals online in a faceless way. I'm more one-to-one and small groups. And even when I'm going to be doing small groups, there will still be a one-to-one, because I want to know what makes you tick. That's the thing, because you are not the same as the person next door.
Perfect. I love that. Now, we know that this podcast is during November, which is the month for letting go in terms of the Flourishing Introvert talks. So can you share with us a little bit about either what you've let go of already, what you've still got to let go of, or maybe what you help your clients let go of? So a three-pronged approach to that question.
Wow, that's massive.
I
You
know.
have to remind me. Okay, so I think that the first one in the end links to the third one, because if I can't let go, if I can't find the time and the space to give me the time I value, my personal time, that's not work time, how on earth can I help and clients do the same thing? That would be showing a great lack of integrity. So I have to walk the walk.
Yeah.
So part of that has been that recently, my partner and I have had these, because he's way past retirement age and it's a dirty word, but he has accepted that he needs to work less. So, okay, if you're working less, what are you going to do? And that's a big thing, because as much as we want to work, we want to have time off, and it's creating that time out that's valuable, but it has to be meaningful. So we've just come back from a lovely holiday, and we've booked another one. We're going to go to Marbella in the middle of November. That's letting go. It's accepting that I can work, but I also need to have the time, because we've only got one life. So I want to be sure that I help my clients understand that it's okay to not work, because I think people are very poor at this. We're busy fools.
Yes.
All the time. Busy, 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 busy.
Don't look at me when you're that.
You said it before, and I say it, I say it all the time when we're here. We're busy fools. We've been busy fools. We're not fools. We're not fools at all. We're hardworking and we're driven, but we have to accept that we need to have time to recharge those batteries, even if it's just sat having a cup of tea and a chat.
Nice.
And I hope I can encourage my clients to do the same, because burnout doesn't look good.
No, it doesn't. And having been there before, I'm definitely not going there again.
Me neither.
Is there something you still need to let go of, Sharon?
Yeah, I think it probably is, really. I think it's acceptance. And I'm getting there with it. I'm definitely getting there with it. Wow, that's a poignant question, isn't it? That really between the eyes. It's the fact that accepting that you can't do what you could do before.
Yeah.
And that's a big one for me. And I went to the gym yesterday, and the young, gorgeous guy who's there, he came up to me and he said, my God, he said, you don't have to push yourself hard. And so that's hard for me to stop pushing myself hard. And I'm learning, but it's slow. It's a slow one.
Well, and I can see there's a balance, because actually you don't want to stop pushing altogether.
No.
because we're still capable of so much, but neither do you want to push yourself to breaking point. So finding that equilibrium, and that's something that I've been talking about on the podcast over the last few months a bit as well, is that kind of equilibrium is so important, so important. So if you had one piece of advice to give to introverts who are listening to our conversation, what would your one piece of advice be so that they can flourish in ways that you have and still are, Sharon?
At any age, at whatever age you are.
Yeah.
I think that you have to keep challenging yourself. I think that you have to keep challenging and never stop and keep learning. So it's okay to get something wrong. It's okay for it not to be right. It's better to try and it be wrong. It's a bit like making a chocolate cake and it comes out of the oven and it's sunk and it's yak. Throw it in the bin, but don't say I can't make chocolate cake, try again. So I think for all, and I know quite a few like introvert type people, is you've got to be brave.
Yeah.
You've got to try just a little tiny bit and just push your boundaries, I think.
Yeah, and we talked in the past about the fact, it's those small steps that make the difference.
Always.
We don't have to pretend to do a big leap. We can do little steps, bit by bit.
I've got a friend who lives by herself. I mentioned it before, and she's really quite lonely. She's definitely become more and more introverted, and she doesn't speak to a lot of people. She goes for a walk every day. She won't join a walking group, and she won't join the walking group because she said, I'll go if you come with me, but I won't go on my own. And that little step is just a step too far for her, and that's a shame.
And we often talk about how we bridge that gap between kind of comfort zone, competency zone, learning edge, and kind of zone of anxiety, etc. And maybe you going with her a couple of times will then get her integrated into.
You'd be fine then.
Yeah, exactly. So I love the fact that what we both do is also help people find the bridge so that they're not stuck where they are somehow.
No, because that makes me sad, and it's a lonely life. And as you get older, it's more important than ever to be sociable. It's so important.
Yeah. No man is an island, and neither is any woman. So we all need each other, but for introverts in particular, in specific ways. I don't need to be in your pocket every day, but I need to know there's somebody there for me, and I need to either have somebody that I can offload to, somebody that can hold me accountable, something, so that I know I've got the right kind of connections and the right kind of network.
Brilliant. Yeah, definitely.
Sharon, I've loved our conversation, and I'm sure the listeners have too. So what they will be shouting at now is, where can I find out more about what Sharon does? So how can people find you, Sharon, either website or social media handle or whatever? So
you can find me on, I'm on Facebook, but I favor Instagram.
So if you're looking for Sharon on Instagram, it's New Direction, New Business. And you can also go to her website, which is newbusinessmatchmaker.com. So follow Sharon in both of those places. Sharon, thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed our conversation. I have a sense that we could have carried on for quite a lot longer.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you for having me. Thank you so much.
If you enjoyed this episode as much as I did, then please subscribe, rate us, and leave a comment, because we know that helps other people find the podcast. And if other people find us, other introverts can flourish.
This has been a Monkey Pants Productions podcast.